Hey everybody, it's Roksharoo here. As I promised you before, this will be a short Power Euro Classic basic guide. Before we dive into editing phase, I will just say one remark in general about this add-on. Power Euro Classic is here to remind you stuff you might forget. It's not here to do anything else but that, and take this into your mind. Take one example that I already made and let's see what we can do with it. This one is to remind me that my blood fear is off cooldown. Okay, you see this yellow skull on top of my head that is a little bit moving from side to side. So let's go over step by step how I did configure it. Okay, step 1 is choosing the texture you want to show. You can go around and choose whatever texture you want. There is quite a large variety in here. I just choose this skull, no particular reason. You can set a color in here, and as you can see, whatever I do will change it, of course. You can choose if you want it to glow or not to glow. Most of the time I do use glow because it blends better with the environment. If we move forward, you can see that you have size here. You can do whatever you want with it. Positioning, where do you want it to be placed? After that you have the important part. This is actually the part that matters. Activation. Okay, so you have a lot of options here. Let's just go on the basics ones. I want this to pop whenever my blood fear is off cooldown, so I'm choosing action usable. Now everything in World of Warcraft is case sensitive, and by that I mean that it's really important if it's capital letter or small letter. So you need to copy the name of the spell in here exactly as it is on your spellbook. And then what you need to check, first you want it only to work in combat. You don't want it to work when you are mounted or when you are in vehicle. You want it to work for both of your specs, as you can see here, and of course only to work when you are alive. You can go into animation to add certain effects, like I have on main animation here orbit to make it move like this. You can put flashing, you can put it just on static, you can put it on spinning, or whatever you want. Let's look at another example. This time we're going to look at Imp Swarm Ready spell. It's going to activate on the same reason, action usable as before. Imp Swarm here in the spell name, case sensitive as before. Everything else that we set here in the filter bar should be the same. This is actually the basic setting that will automatically be set for you. Now, only thing is different here is that this time I check custom texture instead of raw texture. Custom texture means that the same spell that you put in here will appear on your screen as it is supposed to appear from your spellbook. What this is good for is if you don't find stuff in the word texture or the Euro texture that you feel that will actually remind you of the spell that you want to be reminded, you can always use custom texture and it will probably do the job. Let's talk about buffs. I'm having a buff now which is called Demonic Circle Summon. This is something that I really should be aware when it's not on me. So what I've done is set an activation by buffs this time. I've written here the exact name as it appears on the title of the buff. Stacks is more than 0 or equal to 0. What I have done is checked invert. As you can see, the tooltip clearly says inverts the logic to show this effect only when debuff or buff is not activated. This will actually show the pre-made texture saying danger on my screen when I don't have my demonic circle. Now I'm going to show you one of my favorites. When I'm popping my burst macro, which will activate both my trinket and my blood fury, will activate my dark soul, and will sacrifice my pet. So when I pop my burst macro, I'm actually killing my own pet, and when my pet dies as a demonology warlock, I'm getting a buff for 20 seconds that will actually let me resummon my pet as an instant cast. Now what I want to do using Power Euro Classic is make it easier for me to track when my 20 second is about to go off. Let's open Power Euro Classic and see how I read it through. What I've done is not really complicated, but will add us another feature. Let's go into edit, and as you can see, Demonic Rebirth is the name of the buff that we actually use. This time I'm not inverting this because I want this to show when the buff is not on me. So what I did difference is went into timer and clicked the show. I positioned it in the right place that I wanted, with the right size that I wanted, nothing else involved with it, and it will actually show the amount of time left on my buff. I will just show you now how it will actually work. I will close everything so it will go away. I will activate my burst macro, killing my pet, and as you can see, this timer here will tell me exactly the amount of time I have left in order to recast my pet as an instant free summon. I will, just before it goes, get out of meta and recast my pet. Okay guys, now I promised you something complicated, so together we're going to configure something new. On my arena video, one time I propped everything I can, and for some reason my Dark Soul didn't activate at the same time. Now we want to avoid such things, so what we're gonna do is configure some kind of a reminder that we are in burst at the moment, but our Dark Soul is not activated. This is of course individual, but when I'm popping my burst macro, the only thing different in terms of buffs is that I'm also using Blood Fury, which is my racial buff. So the first thing we need to set is a tracker to track that Blood Fury is actually on. So we're going to make a new one. In here, in the activation, we're going to type case sensitive Blood Fury and make sure it's exactly spelled the same. Now in terms of animation, I don't really mind about animation, and you will see in 1 second why. We're gonna close this one and we're going to continue and make a new one. This one will have the important texture. What we want this one to do is actually tell us if our Dark Soul knowledge is actually usable. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna type here Dark Soul knowledge and make sure that we're typing it correctly. So I'm going to put my Dark Soul knowledge in front of me and case sensitively copy it. Dark Soul should do. We're going to set it of course on action usable. And now comes the interesting part. As you can see, every euro that we make has a number. You see the number 10 here and the number 9 here, 5, 6. I hope you did see it because I can't point it out. Now when we configure the one before with the Blood Fury buff activation, it has the number 10 on it. So what I will do is inside this text box we'll place the number 10. What this does is actually tells the Eura before it activates to check if your number 10 is also activating. In here animation has a serious effect. What I'm going to do is choose something that is really noticeable, and I will go to texture number 53, which is an exclamation mark. I want to make sure that I will really notice this, so I'll put it in the color red. I'll make it a little bit smaller, and I think this will do. One last thing we need to set before we test this off is that we want to remove this ugly circle in the middle of our screen. What we're going to do is to set the Blood Fury Eura that we configured before as an off Eura. And as you can see, the tooltip says shift plus click to toggle on or off. By clicking it, it will go away and will now say off. Now we're going to do is close everything up and get ready for the test. In order to see if this will work, I will actually go into my burst macro and for now remove the Dark Soul knowledge casting. Now for the moment of truth, I will pop my burst without casting Dark Soul on myself. If everything will work, a red exclamation mark will show on the screen reminding me that my Dark Soul did not activate. As you can see, everything works perfectly. This is something really noticeable, and usually when I will click again and again on my burst macro, this will activate my Dark Soul and will go away. That will be it for our guide on Power Eura Classic. If you do want to configure some stuff that I didn't mention here and you want my help, feel free to contact me or leave a comment and I will do my best to help you with it.